All right. Good morning, Austin. I'm Susana Carvajal with the City of Austin Economic Development Department. Thank you, all of you, for joining me this morning. And thank you to the rockstar panelists that we will have today. And we will be talking with them today, chatting and seeing what all they have to offer our beautiful community and what they're up to. I'm so excited to meet them and listen to all of their tricks and treats to their success. Before we get to talk to them, I definitely want to do a shout out to Veronica Briceño, our Chief Economic Recovery Officer, and Zenobia Holt-Robb, who's our Acting Director for the Economic Development Department with the City of Austin. And thank you to the Small Business Division Rockstar team at the Economic Development Department. You have invited our panelists today, and you coordinated this event that we are here for. The Small Business Division, so you all know, and a quick reminder, we offer so many resources to our Austin small business owners, entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, creative professionals, including no-cost business coaching, education, industry research tools, and classes. So please check us out at smallbizaustin.org. This team is always coming up with crazy, fun, and educational things for us to learn from. So please check us out, smallbizaustin.org. Fun facts before we get to the panelists. According to the US Census of 2019, annual business census, nearly 20% or 1.1 million of all businesses are owned by women. Awesome. In Austin alone, 22% of small businesses are female owned, and women owned small businesses account for 8.8% of all employees. I think that number is going up. Among the 50 largest metros, Austin ranks 7th for percentages of female-owned firms and employees working for female-owned firms. The City of Austin, the Economic Development Department, we are committed to supporting and strengthening women-owned businesses, and we want to help remove barriers for women business owners. So please let us know how we could help, and we are here to make that happen. That is why one of the reasons why we keep hosting these educational events featuring women business owners annually for the past 16 years. 16 years. That's only been, like most of my life. We are happy. We're here to learn and celebrate female entrepreneurship. So let's get to learning about these women, learning about their stories, and get to know them. I first want to welcome our panel moderator, Joy Chevalier, owner of Austin's first culinary incubator, the Cook's Nook. A little bit about Joy. She is an honors graduate of the Culinary Arts program at the Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. She combines the best of her technology background with her love of culinary arts in a culinary incubator, which provides kitchen space, co-working, business development, entrepreneur development, capital access to food entrepreneurs, and corporate brands in the food and tech industry. She received the 2019 SCORE Austin Small Business Award, and she's an Austin Food and Wine Alliance 2019 grant recipient. She's a finalist for the Austin Mosaic Awards focused on diversity and inclusion in Austin business, and she enjoys community and civic activities, growing roses, reads Milton, and studies the stars through her telescope. Man, Joy, you have a lot of time on your hands. Let me give you something more to be busy. Help me welcome Joy. Thank you, Joy, for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, this division is one of my favorites in the entire city. You guys are splendid and fantastic. And I'm delighted that you guys have asked me to be here today. So I'm thrilled. Welcome everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Also shout out to Sonovia and Veronica as well. So from my end too. And we have a lot to talk about. So we're going to get there. Thank you, Susanna, for your greetings. And I get to tell you about the ladies who I get to chat with today, all of whom I know. They're fantastic and their companies are amazing. First off, let me tell you about Gabriela Abusio, Gabby. Gabby is a successful restaurateur, a proud Latina, an independent business owner here in Austin. Alongside her brother, she runs one of Austin's most popular and fast-growing restaurant management groups, which is amazing. And while overseeing local culinary destinations like Gabriela's, Taquero Mucho, Sirenas, and a Revival Coffee, plus music venues like Malavida and Mala Santa, she is going to take over the world. So that's pretty much what Gabby is doing these days. Yeah, so look for her to have a total global dominance soon. Next, Kendall Antonelli, whom I know so amazingly. We are in Les Dames together, which is amazing. We'll talk about that. And she owns and operates Antonelli's Cheese Shop with her husband, John. Many of you guys probably have visited Antonelli's. A previous Austin 40 Under 40 awardee and Austin Business Journal Profile and Power. Kendall is also a certified cheese professional. That's what you need to know. Antonelli's Cheese, named one of the best cheese shops in America by Travel and Leisure magazine, includes a cut-to-order shop that also offers cheese trays, over 200 events and tastings per year, and is a wholesale program distributing cheese all throughout Texas and now even across the United States. And in 2020, Antonelli's Cheese earned 2 distinctions for their early move to virtual tastings, bringing over 15,000 folks together in a shared experience of cheese. Antonelli's is the center of cheese, not only in Austin, Texas, and gosh, the United States these days. So welcome, Kendall Antonelli. And then also with me today is Sharon Mays, who, luckily enough, I also know who is the chair of the Austin Travis County Food Policy Board. And she is, most importantly, the founder of Baby Greens. And after a brief stint as a vegetarian, made her realize that there were no fast food options for people looking for healthy and quick meals. She established Baby Greens, and she grew up here in Austin, real Austinite. And so she knew that her hometown was the perfect place to launch a fast food revolution. Though she eventually had become an omnivore again, Sharon committed to making sure that people who enjoyed plant-based diets had a fast food restaurant that was their own, that they knew was home. So under her leadership, Baby Greens has won many awards and honors for its delicious food, including having been voted best salad and dressing in Austin. So, ladies, thank you for joining us today. Amazing to see you so early in the morning. All of us, running our companies are like, oh my gosh, hair on fire, stuff in the morning. So thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
Good morning, y'all. So excited to be here. Thanks, Joy, for moderating. Thanks to the team for having us. And hi, Gabby, and hi, Sharon. I can't wait to learn from you. I'm ready for you to download all your tips and tricks into my brain.
I know, right? I mean, you never get done learning stuff. I mean, for sure. All right. So ready? First question. So I'm gonna give you just a couple minutes. I mean, I've given some bits about you, but what made you start the company? Just so people understand it. Yes, you have all these accolades, but there's always something inside that makes you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to have a company, or to leave whatever you were doing before to make this thing now happen. What made you decide to do that? What was that spark? What was that thing? And I'm going to pick on Gabby and let Gabby go first.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, it's just me and my family have always been workaholics, super hard workers. And we were just getting tired about our ideas not being valued. And we wanted to start our own business and work towards our dream versus working on somebody else's dream.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, in that, I think that's a core seminal part of it, that you want your voice and your ideas to be valued. And who's going to value that more than you, right? At the end of the day. Sharon?
Well, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Even when I was a little girl, I didn't know what that word meant. I always knew that I was going to want to do my own thing. And the path to Baby Greens is kind of a long and crazy winding story, but it's all about timing. I was a vegetarian and I had a really terrible job. And so to keep myself focused at work, I would just write down business ideas. And Joy, I know you know this as a marketing person as well. I was just so annoyed that there were no options. Like at some point, everyone decided we'll just eat crappy fast food and pay billions of dollars for it. Sure, let's all do that. And so one day while I was at work in the cafeteria where they had the saddest salad bar ever, I was just like, I stopped back to my desk, and on my list of things, I just wrote drive-through salad restaurant. And kind of mushroomed from there. But it was just one of those things where, you know, the irony of Baby Greens is when I started telling everyone, like, I'm going to open this drive-through only salad restaurant, everyone thought I was completely crazy. And then when we opened, it was just like, why haven't we always had this? This should have always been here. Why have we?
Isn't that amazing how that happens? You know, everybody goes, that should have always happened. We need more of that.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then also, it's always interesting how the best ideas come in a fit of pique.
Absolutely. Born of frustration. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's amazing. You just go back to your desk and go, that's it.
Yeah. And in fact, I saved like the notepad. It's in a box somewhere where I wrote down my idea, and I just started like drawing the space and my menu, and just like that was the thing that would keep me going. And, you know, a wonderful thing about the law of attraction, that in the end, when I opened my first restaurant, it looked almost exactly like that drawing. And I had never owned a restaurant before. I barely even worked in a restaurant before. And it just kind of, you know, all came together.
Wow, that's amazing. I still have the original drawing of the Cook's Nook.
Yeah.
On a piece of paper for this thing. I'm like, why do we not have this? And drew it out. That's cool.
Exactly.
That's cool. All right, Miss Kendall.
Yeah, I love Sharon, what you were saying, and you're right. It's ironic that the easiest fast food there is salad. Not the easy to do it best, like you all do, but the easiest just to do. So how is it that everything else became fast food first? Exactly. Yeah, so we do cheese. How did that come about? I mean, we went on our honeymoon. My husband is a CPA by trade, so we are 50-50 owners. And we went on our honeymoon. And he turned to me, had this existential moment on the beach, and said, I love everything about my job, but I love everything about my life. And he's like, I have the perfect wife and the perfect dogs, and clearly far from perfect. But anyway, he was waxing poetic in this moment and had too many perfect little pina coladas with drinks in them. And by the way, yeah, we're in the Caribbean. We're not in like a cheese place, just for the record. We're on an island that's 7 by 13, and it's known for fish, fries, and nutmeg. Right. So in Grenada. And he turns to me and says, I love everything about my life, but I just don't like my job. Nobody likes an auditor, and then I was like, what do you want to do? And he said, I don't know, something in cheese. Nobody likes an auditor, but everybody loves cheese. And it literally happened that way on day 2. And at this time, I'm like, whatever, you do you. Like, that's great. I was running a program at a local nonprofit here in Austin for survivors of human trafficking and immigrant survivors of crime, and loved my job. I was starting to feel a little burnout. And then it was he had said, give me 2 years. I can try to pull the money together, go to graduate school, build a business plan, but I'll come out of graduate school with all that debt. And then what am I going to use to start the business? Or I think I can just write a business plan and put that debt straight into the business. And I was just texting back and forth with him because he came down to the office so many times to help write his business plan. And so that started taking shape. And over the course of 2 years, which he calls his MBA program, even though he'd made it himself, we started running a cheese club out of our house. And it was really a grilled cheese club. We were going to start one of the nation's first gourmet grilled cheese restaurants, which now there's like 10 in Austin. So I'm really glad that was not the way we went. But long story short, in that it became in our small bungalow home in Austin, while we're cooking these grilled cheeses, you know how everybody gathers in the kitchen, and everybody's on the kitchen, and we had the tiniest kitchen. I mean, it was really tiny. And yet we're like, here, have this bite of cheese. This was made by this 16-year-old. Yeah, she's allergic to cow's milk, so she started making her own goat's milk cheeses. And ooh, what about that weird jam we got in a gift basket one year? Oh, we got that beer at the brewery last week. And we pulled them all out, and we start tasting them and telling the stories of them. And everybody, that was the experience they wanted. And we realized, wait a minute, we can speak to the labor of love of these products. we did not want to be makers ourselves. That would, I grew up in the agricultural lifestyle. My parents are cattle ranchers in North Texas. I rodeoed, I showed sheep and 4-H, I showed lambs. So we knew that that was a lot of work, and we wanted to live on the corner in the city and go get our tacos and coffee right next to us. But all of a sudden it just came together. Austin doesn't have a cheese shop, and we could be Austin's first cut to order cheese shop. We could work alongside each other and tell the story of these artisanal foods, which would put everything together that we love to do. Talking, clearly, we talk a lot. Eating, they say you're best at what you're good at, and we're good at eating. And then that we wanted to be together. And we also said we wanted to do it because we wanted to travel, which was very ignorant and naive at the time, because nobody opens a business to travel because you're basically stuck there 24/7, at least for the first few years. So that's how Antonelli's Cheese came to be.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. But you created a solution for yourself, right? For John and for the two of you. And you created something that fit your life and the experiences you wanted to give, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Well, no, sorry, go ahead, Kendall.
Well, just like Sharon said, I don't think I knew, I think like 10 years ago, I still didn't know what an entrepreneur was, but I always knew I wanted to be my own business owner. My dad opened his own businesses. My mom opened her own business, and my grandparents did too. And so it wasn't that I had some beautiful I wasn't forced into the situation that Gabby was. I have a lot of privilege, and have recognized that privilege now more recently as I've been diving into this work. But so I didn't have to prove my points, except that people were like, a cheese shop. What's a cheese shop concept? So besides proving that, I didn't have other bigger things to prove that I'm sure many of people on this panel have had. Instead, though, it simply came from, I didn't know any other way. I just wanted to be my own boss. And I do like to play by my own rules. And so that has been helpful. Ironically, being an entrepreneur, we know, I think, provides less freedom in many ways. But it does provide the freedom that everybody romanticizes about, that you are your own boss.
So I'd like to ask a little bit about that, because you do get tied. We are attached. I mean, we're, as an entrepreneur, I don't think it's any secret. The business never closes for us. It never, ever, ever closes. There is no close. It closes for other people, and other people go home, but the business is home. It's always open. We're always on it, thinking about it, except maybe when we sleep, if we're lucky. If you're lucky, sometimes you dream about it when you sleep. How do you manage, and as women, this is very important. How do you manage self-care? Where do you get that distance from? And where do you find that little moment of separation? How do you do that? And I'll ask Gabby first again. How do you manage self-care? Because you're gonna take the block. You're gonna take America. You own a lot. So how do you practice self-care?
I honestly, everything that I'm doing is stuff that I love to do. I'm super into music, so I'm able to incorporate self-care into that. I'm a DJ, I produce music. So it's not work when I have to go DJ at my venues. It's fun for me. I love being around artists. I book a lot of the artists that come to our music venues. So I get to go to these shows. I get to spend time with my friends, bring my friends to these shows, go play at other venues with other DJs. So it's when you're having fun and you do what you love, it's not work all the time.
So you've woven in your self-care as part of your work. So is that strategic? Do you plan to do that, to make sure that you do that, and you try to keep it fun, or you're intentional about that?
I'm intentional about it.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you do anything outside of that? She says no.
Not really, because that is what I do for fun, is just music. I travel all over to music festivals, other shows, other cities.
Okay. Wow, you have put it in there. I'm waiting for you to say, no, I sit at home and I do Kundalini yoga.
No, I like going to music shows.
Yeah. So you actually get to travel. So you've incorporated music and travel and engaging, artists and different people as part of that. Wow. See, All right, guys, we have to figure this out. Sharon? Okay,
Well,
Sharon, do you leave that room? Well, I apparently you do because I
never.
see you. I see you.
Actually, I do. I have, I think I'm like the oldest person on this panel as far as these entrepreneurs. So when I was younger, I could definitely go full tilt all the time. So funny, in the early days of Baby Greens, when I was in my early 30s, I had a lot of friends that owned bars, and we literally go from the restaurant and be like, hey, let's go have some drinks. So that was a great time. That doesn't happen anymore. Now I have what I do, and I highly recommend this to every person. I have what I call Silent and Disco Sunday. And on Sunday, I don't talk to anybody. I mean, just if I go out, I mean, I want to, like, if someone says something to me, it's not going to be like, no, but I don't really engage, you know. Even I usually get my nails done every other Sunday, and the nail salon knows that I almost never talk. Everyone else like, no, but I, you know, being the face of your brand, and, you know, Baby Greens, I'm very fortunate. Baby Greens has been around for a long time. A lot of people know Baby Greens, love Baby Greens. And so I'm always on. And so I need, and even though I'm an extroverted person, I need a day to just like have some quiet time. When I first opened Baby Greens in 2004, at the time, you know, of course, all the alarms come to my house, so I could never turn my ringer off. And so I'd just be getting spam and all manner of noises. And I remember when I closed Baby Greens in 2009, before we reopened, the only good thing about that night was I got to turn my ringer off when I went to bed. And when we reopened, that was the one thing that I would not ever do again. My ringer shuts off at 9 o'clock. Thankfully, technology has changed, and the only two calls that can pierce that are my mom and the alarm company. And just to be able to, like, I'm a super light sleeper, so all the chirping and lights flash, all that kind of stuff. Now my room, it's like a black cave in there. No sounds, no light, no nothing. So I get very protective of just like my own mental health, you know, of just like, I need to take a minute to just, you know, have time to myself. And almost everyone that knows me well knows that on Sundays I'm not talking. So people will text me like, hey, sorry to bug you on Sunday. But
that's good. You have boundaries. That's good. You have boundaries and people know them.
Yeah, I have to, because, you know, it's a lot. I work 12, 13-hour days. And, you know, if I crumble, then, you know, it doesn't bode well for the business. And I just, you know, that's one of the lessons learned over time, is that I need a little time for myself. When you're always pouring out into everyone else, you know, I sit on the food policy board. I was on other boards, you know, I have other things in my life, but then it's like, some point I just need to have a little window. So Silent Disco Sunday, I highly recommend it.
And so in this way, you created it in your calendar. You've made a fixed activity.
Absolutely.
A fixed block in your calendar, where Gabby's sort of woven it into her life. You've made a fixed block. And they're just different. They're just different. I say to folks in the audience, they're just different. They're different approaches, you know, absolutely. Yeah. And Kendall, I know you probably have many thoughts on self-care.
I know. I want to go third every time, because you all are making me remember things. But I think I have convenient amnesia, just like pregnancy or labor, and like why you go back. And I've got 2 kids. Yes. I'm like, oh, it wasn't that hard when we opened. Now everything Sharon is saying, I'm like getting a little PTSD for real at the moment. Yeah. So
especially about the alarms and the phone thing.
So we also, and maybe Sharon has this too, now we've graduated where the temperatures in our walk-in, if our walk-ins go out, it is tens of thousands, if not 100,000, depending in the holidays, of inventory lost. And for instance, during the freeze, we lost all that inventory, no insurance coverage for it. If a case just goes out. And so now we get notifications to our phone, but not only is it the alarm system, it's the temperature alarms that still come in. And so, you're right. You are always on. That is the one thing I think that would-be entrepreneurs don't understand. And they're like, yeah, but it's so exciting. And you're like, it is. I love it. I wouldn't change it. And you are always on. So you're right, Joy, to your point. I think we are a hybrid of both of the two, because like Gabby, this whole notion of, is it work, the balance of work and personal life. And for us, we realized we have the most tension in our lives when we're trying to like, did I spend too much time with the work or not enough with our kids? So we intentionally put it all into one big melting pot. And so when we all go on family vacations, we go to Spain and we're visiting 30 cheesemakers in 30 days. But we love it. So it is our passion. You're right. We love what we do. So we want to keep working. That being said, there are also times when I all of a sudden hit a wall, and I forget these. John says it was 7 months in and we hadn't had a single day off. And it was 7 months in, and he reminds me that's when I turned to him and I said, apparently I'm, again, all or nothing girl. I don't remember any of this story, but I turned to him and I was like, that's it. We either got to hire somebody or something's got to change. I can't do it. And I'm like, yeah, that first year was so fun. It was great. We loved it. John was like, you hit a wall. And I was like, oh, okay. But ironically, being very busy is what has helped us put in boundaries in our lives. And so for me, that means regular night of sleep, and people might make fun of it, but I go to bed at 9:30 and I get up at 5:30 or 6. Like I get a full sleep. I try to go for a walk every day. And now me saying that, I haven't gone in 2 weeks and I can tell. I told my therapist yesterday, I was like, I'm in kind of a slump. And I was like, oh yeah, I haven't gone for a walk in 2 weeks. So to me, I need those little things. And then every once in a while, John and I have to do what we call a reset, because I don't think we've tried to do the stark rules, like no phones in the bedroom, or no talking about work past blanket clock. And it just doesn't work for us because we flex and flow with our business. And sometimes we haven't seen each other all day, and then we download on each other right before bed. That's what I like to do so I can go to sleep. And then John's like, great, thanks for putting that all on me. And now I can't sleep for the next 5 hours. So we're okay with doing those things, but every once in a while, especially as bigger seasons need it, or we have a priority project, but then we know we have to come back around. Like just yesterday, for example, we went and worked out with the trainer, and John, between every set, picked up his phone, and I'm like, I'm getting anxious and I'm squeezing myself and I'm okay, what are you doing over there? And because he had his thing, but I absorbed it. So afterwards I just said, hey honey, I haven't asked if there's an emergency going on, let me know. I get it. Be on your phone. Great. If you could just go into that little side space. But the whole time you did it, I couldn't be in my self-care mode, taking care of myself, because all I could think is something's blowing up, something's wrong at work. And he's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about it that way. You're right. I'll just leave the phone in the car. So we are constantly answering this question for ourselves, Joy, and we are both survivors of depression. I was hospitalized for depression in college. And so this is a constant thing that we are always working on for ourselves. And I think we'll always be working on what are healthy habits.
I like that. I think first off, thank you all for sharing that. Thank you, Kendall, for sharing that. It is that constancy, like tending a garden. I know Jacqueline made, comment about my roses and X, Y, and Z, but the reason why that's my attempt at self-care. I have so many background activities because I have to switch between activities. That's what helps me in the background. But everybody has to find that method and that mechanism, because what we do is intense. You are on, right? Whether it's 24/7, whether it's woven like Gabby talks about, or even when you are having dedicated downtime, it's dedicated downtime because it's part of a structure, because you are on 24/7, right? Or seven days a week. It doesn't matter. Even your downtime is part of a structure, to a life that is dedicated to a business, to this passion, to your customers, to this life of entrepreneurship. That you're in the middle of. And so you end up finding yourself finding ways over the years, if you end up being an entrepreneur for, gosh, Gabby, how long have you and your brother been entrepreneurs now?
3 years.
3 years. And Sharon, for you?
Goodness, I think I've been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years now.
Yeah. And Kendall, you guys have been at it how long now?
I'm at 12, but Gabby, if you have done all that in 3 years, then you go, girl. You are.
I know. Yeah. And now for me, it's been 7 or 8 now, right? So we're all at different different spots in this journey, right? But the refrain is still the same, right? You're going to find some means and some mechanism, right, to find this care model for yourself, and that it might change over time, and what it looks like at different points. Um, so technicals. So how does that speaks to a set of values, and if for you and for the company, in your business entrepreneurship, do you have a set of key values that you sort of think about that sort of drives the business? I'm going to assume, here's a secret: values come from you and they reflect in your business. Okay, that's the end of that. But I'll just tell you the answer. But Sharon, I'll start with you. Are there some key values and tenets then that sort of lift through you and through the business?
Absolutely. Our mission statement at Baby Greens is spread joy. And that's actually what we do. I always tell new hires, we spread joy in the form of a salad. And one of the reasons why I started Baby Greens was, people who are fast food customers usually get the worst of it. Typically when you go to a fast food restaurant, there's not a lot of great customer service. Food's not really great. Getting handed, fried foods with a sad face and all of these things. And so I worked on Baby Greens. I wanted to really be the opposite of that, because fresh food and good service is not something for the haves only. So if you're a fast food customer because you're either short on time or short on funds, you still deserve some goodness. And so, that I feel like is one of the reasons why people really love Baby Greens. Yes, we have really great food, but the root of it is that our mission is to spread joy, and that goes inside and out. So for my employees, to have a place where they work, where they feel supported, where we are having, we're working, but we're still having a good time. And it's, to be 100% honest, like, it's one of the most addictive feelings in the world to know that you are giving someone joy, and then people come through and they're so excited. They're so excited to come through, and you can see the look on their face. And so to me, that is at the foundation of every single thing that we do at Baby Greens, is like, let's just put a little joy out there. We have these customers for just a few minutes. We might be the only good thing in their day. So let's pour it on. We even had one time, we had a customer who came through, and she would not crack a smile for anything. And so the staff were like, we're going to make this woman smile. Like, we're all just like, it's happening. We're going to make this woman's day. And so every time she would come through, we would all try and like tell her a joke or whatever. And she was just like deadpan. And one day she came through, and I said a joke to her, and she cracked up laughing, and I turned away from the window. I was like, oh my God, we did it. And it's so funny because she was like one of my old school Baby Greens customers, and she still comes now to the new store, and she is like the happiest, smiliest person. And I'm always like, we did that. We did that.
Oh,
we did that.
Wow. So I want to see spread joy, like as a logo or sign on the
we're actually doing it on our shirts. We're getting girl plant. It's one of those things that I'm with you on that. Like, especially pre-pandemic, it was something that's always been an internal thing, but to be coming out on the other side, what we've all been through, to me, I feel like sometimes you forget how far just a little bit of kindness goes. And we still have, random days where people be like, I'm going to buy the lunch for the person behind me, just for no particular reason. I'm having a great day, I'm going to buy the lunch for the person behind me. And it's like, but they ordered more than you, doesn't matter. And it'll just like go and go and go, and those things just pop up. And I feel like it's the thing that makes Baby Greens truly special, is that there will be other salad restaurants out there, but our mission is spread joy.
Oh my gosh, you guys have got to externalize that.
Yeah, so it's coming. We're
That'd be
working on it.
fantastic.
I'm like, we
Oh,
need to shout it out because
yeah.
people need to hear it and
Yeah.
know that that's what we came to do every day when we come to work. That's what we came here to do, spread some joy.
Yeah, somebody in chat, Edna says, that's powerful. Yeah, that's great. Kendall, and then I'm gonna ask Gabby the same question too. Kendall, you want to talk about just your value set? I mean, I know we've talked about this.
Yeah, we are similarly a mission-driven business. So for any would-be entrepreneurs or folks out there who are working on their business plan, know that you don't have to start with these things. And in fact, in our business plan, we had a draft holder mission statement, because they say a mission statement should be able to be said in a breath, that everybody knows it. It should be able to be short. And John and I always joked, we knew we had hit our mission statement if we would tattoo it on our bums. So we have yet to do it. But the mission statement we have today really came at year like 7 or 8. And it's do good, eat good. And for all the grammar buffs out there, it's not about eat well, it's not about eating healthy, but it's about the good, the greater good, good as in a noun, that we support smaller artisanal producers who make food that is with sustainable and regenerative practices. So it's good for the land, it's good for their animals, they have humane treatment, it's good for their teams, it's ethical treatment of their teams, and it's delicious. And then in turn, when people spend their hard-earned dollar with us, we get to do all of the same. And so we have a percentage give back to our communities. And we try to give our time and treasures and resources back to the community where we can. So we're do good, eat good, but just to people out there who are like, oh, I don't have a mission. For 7 years, it said to tell the story of artisanal foods, linking producers with consumers and their labors of love, or something like that. So I'm the only one, John can never say that. I'm the only one who could say that. But really what it came to be is that is what we do. We sell cheese. How? We tell the story of artisanal producers. But why? It's to do good, eat good for our business. And then for us personally, I think it's kismet, Sharon. John and I are on a personal mission to spread joy. It's all over our website. Like that's what we do as well. So I think that at the end, what it comes to for both of us is recognizing the power that we have in hospitality. So often we throw around like, oh, it's the hospitality industry. Well, what does it mean to truly be hospitable? What is hospitality? It is that power every single time. This is what we train in our customer service, that when somebody walks through our door, they may not need cheese, but they could use a friend or friendly interaction. So how can we let them escape their woes for a little bit? How can we put a smile on their face? And we do the same thing where we keep giving them cheese bites until we see their happy dance. And I've heard Amy Simmons of Amy's Ice Cream say this too, that people get food. I don't know about salad chair, but people get cheese and ice cream when they're in the highest highs, like they're treating themselves for a special occasion, or when they're in the lowest lows and you're like emotional eating. And so recognizing that power of meeting them where they're at. And in fact, we just our new brand marketing manager, y'all, we fired me after 12 years. I've been the whole sole marketing team and I got fired.
I saw that. You got fired.
And she found on Reddit, and I was like, oh, I've never even searched Reddit for our branding. She found this post from 2015 and said, this woman had waited in line a long time. So for us, that really only happens in the holidays. And she couldn't stand up any longer. And she was going through chemo, and she had just come from chemo. So she wasn't upset, but she walked outside to leave. And that a man ran after her, said, hey, I'm so sorry about the line. Can I help you? Is there something going on? Ended up making her a gift basket, giving it all complimentary, and then turned out, and she found out it was the owner. So then we all found this week. We're all crying reading it, the story. And then Daniela puts it in our newsletter this week, and that woman reached out to us because we didn't know who it was. And then she said, that was me. It chokes me up because there are hard days for sure, but that's what reminds you why you're in this business and that we have that power. So yeah, I used up my time because I want to hear from Gabby, but we have core principles, and that's family first, then business, however people define family, chosen family, adopted family, four-legged family, but we keeping in mind that we make money to take care of our own needs and those of people we love, and that we want to make sure that's prioritized. To be a juggernaut of awesome, that is an overwhelming force. That's that superpower of how can we change somebody's day. To be true to ourselves and to others, and that's not only our ethical stance, but also it has taken on new meaning in the last few years as we sought to be, instead of allies, actors for people so that they can show up in the skin they're in and feel fully seen and appreciated for who they are and the differences they bring, and those are valued. and then to improve every day. And so there is no best, there's only better, which I think is exhausting to work for John and myself in that capacity, but we know that we can always do it better. So yeah. I'll turn it over to Gabby for that.
Oh, thank you, Kendall. And you guys have such strong statements, such strong statements. Gabby?
And I'm actually glad that Kendall went first, because you said you found it after 7 years. It's actually something that I haven't really put a lot of thought into it. I'm sure I have some, I just don't know. But it would just be, like Sharon said, spreading joy, bringing my community together, helping other local smaller businesses, especially women-owned businesses. A lot of the people that I do work with, or a lot of my vendors, are women-owned businesses. So just growing, but also helping my community grow with me.
Yeah. Yeah, you bring people along with you, and you got such a community that you bring along with you. That's and a ton of people in a variety of sectors around you. I mean, that's really huge. That's really huge. I mean, that's a huge set of values. I mean, and that you'll eventually break those down into a whole bunch of statements. I mean, Kendall and Sharon, okay, and that's what I was saying about people being at different times in their entrepreneur journey, but eventually those will become a series of statements for you about family, about community, about economic development, and what that means to you, because clearly you're becoming an engine, right? And what does that look like? And so you're going to have a series of statements, and you're living them, even if they're not totally, a whole bunch of words yet. That's
I
okay.
think, Joy, you're hitting it on the reason we came up with them, Gabby, is we were like, oh gosh, we're growing. And we started stepping away from the cheese counter. And then how do we then train our team members? What was it that we already do? And how do we train them to live that culture? Because then our customers would start to be like, well, Kendall and John aren't there anymore, even though we have this amazing, fantastic team. So we had to then say, if we step away so that we can grow other parts of the business, how do we train? And that's what made us actually put it on paper.
That's exactly what happens when you have to try to communicate it to other people. When you start to get to that point, that's exactly what happens, right? Oh, that's exciting. That's really exciting. So each of you talk about community, and each of you have talked about that inclusiveness. So what does that mean to you, as having that as part of your business, that sort of being diverse, having women, having a diverse body of people around you? Was that also intentional? Do you sort of, did you have, when you started, this sort of diversity and inclusion intent in your mind? Or I love our statements, Kendall, in the DOMs around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And I'll let Kendall go first on this one. Was that intentional with you guys at Antonelli?
No, you can't let the white woman go first on this.
I did stick you out there on that one a little bit.
I would be happy to, but I would love to throw it over to Sharon first. All
right, I'll let Sharon go first.
That's awesome. Well, I'll say in the very beginning, in the beginning of starting a business and being, to me, I feel like there's a difference, and you will feel the shift. I feel like, Kendall, you have recently made it. Gabriella, you're going to go through it. When you shift from being an entrepreneur to being an employer, and those are different roles to play. And so in my role now as an employer, I think about my business and my company as it interacts with my employees. And so, before I started my own business, I worked in the music industry. I'm a 6 foot tall Black woman from Texas. I don't fit in anywhere. So to say that I've had to deal with all manner of sexual harassment, racial discrimination, gender discrimination, I don't have enough digits to count that on. So you don't start a business to replicate those situations. You become very aware. I feel like you learn from at least I've learned from every interaction that I've had professionally. And some of those these are the things that I never want to do. These are the ways I never want my employees to feel. And so, in our employee handbook, and I go over it with every new hire, one of the things that's in there is that every person is to be treated with respect up here. And for me, a big part of my role is always to be consistent. So that's why I tell everyone, if the answer is yes, the answer is yes for everyone. If the answer is no, the answer is no for everyone. And I have a very strong open door policy. And I always tell my staff, if someone says or does something up here that makes you feel uncomfortable, yes, you can come talk to me. I will always listen to you, even if the problem that you have is with me. In fact, if you have a problem with me, you're better off coming and talking to me about it, because that's about the only way it's going to get solved. And know that when we sit in this room, that we are in Vegas, what happens here stays here, but to create that sense of trust and also be proactive about it. I always tell my managers, a part of your job is to be on vibe check. And by that, I mean, you need to be alert of the vibe that's happening out here. We're in a very small space. And so it's really important to just listen to the chatter, so that you can proactively, talk to employees. I've had trans employees before, and through listening, I heard some coworkers saying some things that were absolutely not appropriate. And I think it's very important for employees to see the owner, the manager, the leader say, we do not tolerate that kind of behavior around here. Absolutely not. So I think that having those values in, and to me, like I said, that's kind of the shift that you make of, you straddle the two lines of being the entrepreneur, the head of your company, but also being an employer, and truly understanding what that means, that, people spend the majority of their waking life inside your four walls. And a lot of who they become as people, a lot of who we are as people is affected by their time at work. And so I love to see my former employees thriving in their other lives and their other careers. And hopefully, I hope that maybe we did something to help them along that path. And so I think that to me is something that, you have to always be aware of the wake that your work creates. You do something and it creates a ripple effect. And to me, it can be a challenging part of being an employer. Sometimes it means I have to have uncomfortable conversations. Sometimes I have to check myself and say, am I being fair? Or maybe I'm in a situation where I have to say, I don't know if I might not be coming at this the right way. I might need to learn and educate something. I'm a person just like everyone else. The world is changing. I'm trying to change with it and make sure that ultimately everyone is welcome. I made this company for every person to come here and feel like this was their spot, whether they're a customer or an employee, even vendors. And so that has to be my North Star, to say, are we making it available to everyone to feel like they could come here and be a part of it? And I think you just have to be intentional about that.
No, that's fantastic. And in quick follow-up question, when you're doing your onboarding and bringing employees and training development and creating this culture that you wish, you're doing that yourself, and that's, you handle that entire sort of process yourself?
I am right now, primarily because I feel like it's very important. I started working on pre-pandemic, what I call Baby Greens University, which is just all of the things so that I can hand this over and also really help our managers understand this. When I do the manager onboarding and training, the thing I always tell my manager is, do not come in here and try and be everybody's buddy. You think that people are going to like that. But the problem with that is that nobody wants to feel like they're not your favorite. Everyone wants to know who you are and what you stand for. I'm like, I'm the owner. So on some days I'm, like everyone likes me, but I'm also like the person who shuts down the party. So I ebb and flow between the awesome person and the collective villain. But ultimately, everyone knows what they're going to get when I walk in the door. They know what I stand for and what I expect and respect, and helping the managers understand that. When we think about, all of the information that's come out about the hospitality industry, that's very dark, very horrible. I feel like a part of that comes from a lack of trust and transparency with the staff. So
Yeah.
I'm not up here to be everybody's buddy, but I want the staff to know that they can trust me and I do have their back. We're up here, we're a team. And so really kind of getting that down in a module to help train our managers to understand the nuances of that is kind of my task for next year, so that I can really step away, but make sure I've given everyone the tools to be successful.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Wow. Hey, and that, that is a perspective, somebody who has been an entrepreneur for as long as you have. And then Gabby, do you remember what it was like when you started? I'm gonna come back to Gabby and say, Gabby, for you, and you're out in the music, you're out in this world, and you've got these multiple businesses, I mean, hospitality group, and then the venues and music. How do you do that with those you start to work with and employ? How do you, sort of create the environment and culture that you're trying to achieve,
One of the number one questions I get asked is, how do I get so many young Latinos to work for me?
Yeah.
Or so many young, cool Latinos to work for me? But it's just, that's who I am. I'm a young Latina, and that's who I attract. Like, I don't do it on purpose, but that's who wants to be around me or around our company. I own Mala Vida in downtown Austin. It's a music venue. It's the first and only music venue in 6th Street to ever bring música regional mexicana, which is Mexican music, Mexican live music. I mean, it's crazy for me. In the history of 6th Street, nobody has ever brought that or played that type of music. So, kids of all colors, but they look up to me and they want to work with me, or they want to come join our team because they think it's so cool. Before, they didn't have that. They had to go to the outskirts of Austin to be able to enjoy this, and now they can enjoy it and right in downtown, $10 Uber ride, and they didn't have that option before.
Right. So just from its very nature that it's now central, and it's a part of mainstream Austin and Austin life. They want to be a part, they want to be employed, they want to be part of the working culture as much as the music culture. And they want to be part of that, part of your team. So how do you, as an employer, right? How do you, what does that sort of mean for you? How do you keep them interested in being employed and wanting to work for you? How big is your team now?
It's about 400 or 500 employees.
Wow. So what is it? So how do you train them and bring them? You don't have to recruit. The venue is recruitment. So then how do you have HR and things of that nature and keep them?
I have a great team. I am always available. Like Sharon said, I'm always going from business to business, always talking to them. I have an open door policy. A lot of them visit my offices downtown. A lot of them come to my office. A lot of them message me. Social media is big with us, so a lot of them message me for a job, and I don't do the hiring, but I do transfer it to my managers.
Yeah. And do you have sort of a definition of the culture that you're trying to create amongst your team members, that values you were talking about before? What does diversity and inclusion mean in your business? What does that sort of look like? How do you sort of educate and say, these are the Gabby principles, these are the principles of our group, our group?
Just by being super close to them. I'm constantly talking to them, constantly training our managers.
Wow, that's a lot, Gabby. I mean, that's a lot of employees, girl.
It's a lot to keep up with.
So do you guys have sort of regular trainings and things of that nature for staff and teams and things like that?
We have a lot of training. We have a lot of gatherings.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow.
For each
Wow.
company, different times.
Yeah, yeah, different times. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for each company.
It would be crazy to meet everyone at once.
Yeah, yeah. So
A
just
lot of them
lastly,
also after work, they come to the club.
yeah, yeah, and then they integrate and work on it there as well. I mean, that's totally. I mean, that is a totally different way of, again, that sort of complete integration with the business,
Mhm.
and then with even sort of management, that it's sort of all a part of one thing, and doing the work of actually, well, not you, but I mean the employees doing their jobs, but even as they're doing their jobs, they're engaging in music, or even maybe some even performing music, um, and at the same time having a training experience. It's all happening simultaneously. That to me is fascinating.
Mhm.
you know that's amazing. um Kendall.
Yeah, I'm just like exhausted hearing Gabby speak. I'm like, oh my God, party, 400 employees. I want to, part of me wants to throw it off and be like, it's because you're young. And then that's not fair to you, Gabby. You may be doing that forever. And I don't know your age. So you go, girl.
Yeah.
For me, I agree. I hear what Sharon is saying. First of all, when I became a manager or I don't even know if I originally thought of myself as a leader, but if you're in the position of power and privilege, then you're either a good leader or a bad leader, but you're leading your people. But initially, John and I are people, like we're the life of the party and people like us and we show up with the cheese. And I'm automatically assumed I'd be a good manager. And it turns out I was a crap manager, just for the record. If anybody else is out there, I've really John and I had to get all the manager books and management books, and Kim Scott's Radical Candor has been really good for me. John really loved Uncontainable about the container store, but we just started having to train ourselves. So it is not an innate skill. So it's not enough to be like, I want to be a good person and I want you to do well and thrive under me. I can think those things, but what am I actually putting into practice to back those up? So I've made a lot of mistakes. I've probably made all the mistakes. And anything I'm about to say, know that there is an asterisk on it of, can we do more and can we do it better? And am I still learning it in my journey? Yes, to all of those things. So cheese attracts, cheese is a weird industry. People don't even know it's an industry. So it attracts different people like me who maybe don't find a home wherever else. And so I think from our recent national cheese convention that happened last year, there were some different diversity panels, and one on identity and sexual orientation. The limited pool of folks said that they have always felt welcomed in cheese. Where we have a long way to go are the folks who bravely spoke out, who said that because of the color of their skin and the melanin in it and their pigmentation, in other words, racially, and ethnically and maybe culturally, did not feel that they fit in to the cheese industry. And in fact, that where the cheese industry attracts all of us, that it has not created a pipeline for those individuals, and it does not stay welcoming, and they don't feel, most importantly, Joy, to what you had said, a sense of belonging. And again, this was these few individuals who spoke out. And so I think, I don't know where I'm going with this, except to say, what is my role as a business? John was past president of the American Cheese Society, and that was about 5 years ago. And one of his biggest regrets is that actively being in this space was not on his radar. Again, we thought it was enough to be hospitable and enough to be inclusive, just in how we daily operate our lives and our values. And so he didn't do any work here. And now he feels like that was a missed opportunity, that we could have really taken our industry forward. I'm now on the national nonprofit, the American Cheese Education Foundation. And we just recently did diversity training for all of us. We brought in Virginia Cumberbatch. She's amazing. She's a local Austinite. I had the opportunity, and she's started Rosa Rebellion for storytelling for women of color. And so she came in and trained us. It was fabulous. And in fact, she would say it's not a training, it's an educational journey and an educational experience, because it's not a one and done, check it. I mean, we got work to do. So where am I going with all that? I guess it's to say that I think we've made mistakes in our business. And in the last 3 to 4 years, we have gone into this intentional space about what are we doing so that people feel included. It originally started with John and I educating ourselves, and we were taking that to all of the organizations that we work in. And because we are on the board or volunteer with about 4 organizations apiece. And all of a sudden, I think, I'm trying to remember when, but it dawned on us that like, wait a minute, could our team say we're doing this same work in our business? Just because we're working on ourselves and we're taking it to all these other nonprofits, I don't think it's fair to say that we've brought this intentionally to our team. So the last 2 years or so, we've been following up with our team on the work that we're doing. I send a sort of transparency accountability report out and like, hey, if you have ideas or where we're off, but here's all the trainings that all of our management team has done. Here's what's been open and paid time for everybody else. And then I guess the only thing for other entrepreneurs and small business owners out there, and especially if you look like me, is that we often don't have time, money for an HR team or an HR consultant. And so we did not have that for the first 7 or 8 years. But now we contract with an HR consultant, and just so before you write it off and say, oh, I can't ever afford it. To me, it has been a really good thing for us. And we don't pay a monthly contract. We only pay as needed when we call them. But all of our management team has this person's direct number, and this company is posted around. And the reason for that is I committed a microaggression against a team member one day. And that team member was in management training with John. And she said, well, what happens if, who do I go to if you were John? I don't remember her words, but if you were John, do something. Like, because as the owners, you do everything in your every role. And so as you said, Sharon, like saying, come to me, my door is open. Well, she said, well, what do I do if it's one of you? And John was like, well, you go to the other one. And that didn't sit well with him. And he came home and we talked about it. And we're like, yeah, people clearly aren't going to feel safe and comfortable telling one of us about the other one of us. And that night is the night that we went out and found an HR consultant so that it is posted everywhere in our team. And that way there is an anonymous place that people can report to if they feel not included or some other sort of scenario. So just to put that out there, that things that you can't improve, can't do on day one, that to keep trying to search for them. And that has been, I think, good for us and not only does it legally protect us, which doesn't sound very heartfelt, but it also emotionally protects me as somebody who wants to do right by my team, knowing that I won't always get it right. It's finding the right partner is like a coach in my corner. And I call them up and I say, hey, is this the right way to go about this? I want to make sure I heard this person the right way and their concerns, because at the end of the day, you're right. The best thing about being a business owner is the opportunity to impact people's lives. And the hardest thing about being a business owner is managing employees. People have needs and they're all different. And how do we meet them and fulfill them is always a challenge.
No, you're absolutely right. And I don't think I didn't realize the effect that we have upon people. You don't sort of realize the effect that being in the same space and being an owner and the words that you say and the things that you can do, and the fact that you have these jobs and roles, how much you affect people day in and day out. You know,
Joy, if I can say something.
You don't know it here, but here. Sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
I just wanted to say one quick thing that after Kendall was speaking that I forgot I wanted to say, that every time I have a thing that I do, every time someone leaves my company, whether they quit or they are fired, I always take a second to say, what could I have done differently? What can I learn from this situation? Because sometimes it's, am I hiring the wrong person? Like, am I, and that led me to be like, I'm not great at recruiting. You know, people come in and they're excited and I'm excited. I'm like, yes, come work here. And I can't notice right away that this might not be a great fit. There are times where I was like, did I set them up for success? Like to say, and I feel like doing that helps depersonalize it enough to continue to grow, because some of the things that have come out of there have been things like what Kendall said, like, I need to hire someone to help me in this because I need some backup. It might mean like, I need to rethink my job descriptions. I need to rethink the way I pay my people. Sometimes it's just like, it was the right time for this person to move on. They had a life change, they had to go. But I think it's always good to take a moment to reflect and say, what can I learn from this? What could I have done differently? Because we're all trying to do our best by our people and by our company, but we're human. And so obviously we're going to fall short. We're always in our own head. Every person sees the world through their own eyes. And so I just think that it's very helpful to do that. When you start hiring people, when it doesn't work out, it's not a fault thing. It's never like it was that person's fault or it was my fault. It's, what could we do differently next time so that we don't end up in this place again?
And it might be, y'all, that you go home and you stick your head in the pillow and you cry and you scream in the closet and whatever. But then the next morning you get up and say, what can I do different?
Okay, what can I do? What can I have done better? All right, I want to make sure we get to people's questions here real quick, guys. And we've got a few. So so if you're watching us and listening, hope it's going great. Make sure you put your questions in the Q&A and we're going to try to get through them real quick, rapid fire. Okay, you ready? Someone says, asks, I love hearing some of the non-negotiables on self-care, music, working out, therapy. What are other resources y'all would recommend for building a strong support group to deal with all of the challenges we face as women? Gabby.
I would just join. There's a lot of resources, a lot of groups that get together and talk. That's how I met Sharon a while back ago. I went to go listen to her. Just networking, you meet other women. Get on Facebook groups. There's always events happening. There's always events going on in the city that you can attend and meet other people like you.
Yeah, very cool. Sharon?
I would definitely echo what Gabby said, but also, you know, create like a group of friends for yourself, of like accountability friends. The thing that made me really start Baby Greens is I started a goal group with some girlfriends, and we met every week and we would say whatever our goals were for the week. And they weren't always business related, but we had to report back and say if we did or did not do those things. And if they weren't done, you know, it's like, why? And it just became a great space to openly talk about all of the things that we were going through and working on. So I think that, you know, try to find a way to shake off any shame that you might feel about the fact that you feel overwhelmed or scared or like you're failing, because literally everyone else feels that way too.
Right.
And there's power in finding people that you can say it out loud to and have someone to lean on. And it might be your best friend, your partner, your parent, you know, they're all around you.
Yep, absolutely.
I think the rapid fire I would add is that on Facebook, I'm in like a half dozen women's founders groups. So, and I've never even met the women, but just seeing people post their questions or problems or like, damn, today was a tough day. That just feels good, helps, knows you're not alone. And then both of what Gabby and Sharon said. And additionally, for mental health resources, there's NAMI Central Texas, National Alliance on Mental Illness. There's HERD, which is specifically for folks in the food industry. Those are for around mental health. We have La Dame d'Escoffier. So Gabby and Sharon should be DOMs and everybody else who's out there. But
I know.
It's just a nonprofit of women committed to serving their communities and serving philanthropy, or being true philanthropists and serving their communities. So yeah, I think find your group. And then I already see some questions happening here. So I bet you naturally, if you guys networked in Q&A, you can start your own group that Sharon just said, of where you start your own little mastermind that you just hold each other accountable and meet once a week or once every other week to inspire each other.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our friends at Economic Development having an ongoing network series. That would be cool. Somewhere around a meetup. That would be awesome. Hashtag steal this idea. Okay. All right. Okay. Rapid fire. Marilyn wants to know, Sharon, I want to open a food truck. Sharon, she wants to open a food truck that offers healthy food, mainly vegan. You think opening
Do
in
it.
Austin is the best way to go?
Well, I think that Austin, of course, is a great place, but depending on what your financial availability is, don't discount the outside markets. You know, the outlying areas of Austin, Texas, they don't have as many local foods. So you could be, you know, the belle of the ball in Cedar Park or Liberty Hill or San Marcos. When I first opened Baby Greens in 2004, there were not a lot of other local fast food restaurants. So we soaked up all the attention because we were the only ones. And so now Austin, you know, there's so many great restaurants here. It can be a tough nut to crack into. So don't discount the outlying area because those people would love to have a vegan food truck. Pflugerville, you know, do it definitely, but don't feel like I have to do this in Austin. There are vegans everywhere, and they would be super
everywhere. Cool. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Next rapid fire. Saul asks, as a new entrepreneur, I am in awe. That's lots of W's. Awe, and extremely honored to be here. Finding mentorship from other women entrepreneurs has been really challenging. If I am looking for mentorship and support for a personal project, what is the best way to reach out to you ladies? Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys to put, if you would like, your websites or a way to reach you or your team over here in the chat, or just tell people if you would like. Gabby, is there a way to reach your team or you or whomever that you have who's connected with
Yes,
folks?
they can reach me on Instagram. It's Gabriela with 1L.atx. I do get a lot of messages. I do get a lot of questions from people wanting mentorship. So I have met with a couple of them. So hit me up on Instagram. I reply to all of my messages.
Oh, that's very, look at you. You're kind. Like Instagram messages. All right. No. Sharon?
I would echo that. You can always find me on social media. My personal handle is Miss Sharon Mays. You can also hit up the Baby Greens handle, which is EAT Baby Greens. And I would also encourage you to think about, you know, joining organizations like Boss Babes. I love Boss Babes. I wish that had been around when I was a 20-something. I would rule the world if I had had that resource. So
I think they changed their name.
Oh yes, that's right. I'm sorry, they did.
Yeah.
It is.
I don't remember the new one, but they did change it.
It's right on the tip of my tongue, but definitely send me a message. But also think about joining one of those organizations.
Future Front Texas. I just Googled it. Yeah.
Future Front Texas.
Future Front Texas.
Yes.
Is the new, but it's still www.bossbabes.org.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Kendall at Antonelli's Cheese. I get about 200 emails a day. So I always say I'm where I'm at because of people who met with me. And now I'm embarrassed when I'm like, oh my gosh, I called that guy during the middle of lunch rush. Like, how naive was that? And then he took that call. So a lot of people help me get where I'm at, and I try to pay it forward as well. I do, which I also hear in Gabby and Sharon's voice a little bit. I think this is the first time I'll ever say it. There are ebbs and flows about my workflow and our availability. And so I'm a big believer in you don't get what you don't ask for. So reach out, ask people. And if you get them in the right chance and its time is right for them in their life where they can respond, they will do so. You can ping me twice. It may have just gotten lost, but also I think recognizing that if somebody doesn't respond, it's not a personal affront and not having anything against them. Exactly. I've now heard, in fact, I'm trying to do it for myself, and I don't know about Gabby and Sharon, but people saying that creating a pick my brain fee, which it feels really weird to do that, but like, yeah, I'll go to lunch with you and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And here's a pick my brain fee. So just if there's other people who are in our position, like that also, we're still trying to make a business every day and trying to pay our team members more, and freaking wages, our cost of living is through the roof in Austin. And so anything I can do, that is to say, I'm here, Kendall at Antonelli's Cheese. And also not to take it personally if you're trying to seek mentorship and that woman just can't be available to you in that moment and time and space. It's oftentimes probably right when you reach them that it matters.
So I thanks for that. And I'm going to just say more directly, it is getting mentors is, there are advocates, sponsors, there are mentors. These are all different. You want to build a network that is not dependent on an individual, but a group and a circle of people who are providing information or learning by tribal knowledge by having groups and organizations that are also a part of that. It is really hard, particularly in food and beverage, and entrepreneurship, to have to get on calendars of folks who are entrepreneurs. It is difficult. I'll just say that.
Now,
Directly.
Joy, can I add too that if you have specific questions, that's super easy for me to answer.
That's easy to answer.
The ones that are hard are, so I want to do this. What do I need to know? And you're like, have you started? Where are you at in the journey?
Yeah.
What are you talking? So if you are specific and targeted, I can rapid fire that all day.
Yeah. So if you are trying to learn about the business, the market, the industry, you'll want to be in groups to learn and to grow. That is the best way to get the tribal knowledge you'll need to grow your business. Yeah. Okay, one more question someone is asking. I'm going to pronounce it key because Quay is often key. I apologize if I pronounced it incorrectly. What are some pre-revenue funding sources that you could recommend for a CPG brand in the product testing phase? SKU and other similar accelerators require a ton of sales. Kendall, you want to toss that one out first?
I don't have really an answer yet. I was trying to think on it. I just did this media training yesterday for this Capital One commercial, and they're like, think before you speak, Kendall, which is not my forte. What was going through my head is actually other local entrepreneur, DJ Lozada, who started Soul Pop. And I remember we're actually working on a diversity equity training last week together. He was saying how hard it is to go through those, that a lot of the traditional funding is more challenging for folks like her because you already have to have strong sales, or you have to prove that your own network will put in a certain amount of money, so that was actually what was going through my head right at the moment. So I'll keep thinking, but I don't know, Sharon or Gabby, do you have something off the top of your head?
I was going to say, this sounds like a question for Joy Chevalier. That was going to be what my answer is. I don't have a lot of experience in CPG right now.
Yeah, pre-revenue funding sources are very difficult. Typically you're going to end up starting with a friends and family round before you can get to an angel round. If you are making the rounds and you are going to events and activities, your hope is that you're going to eventually find a group or an angel group that you might be able to do debt or convertible notes with if you're doing sales and revenue. But that is very difficult. But because you have to show a potential angel or seed round funder that you have traction. No one really provides or are going to invest in a business that is not showing traction in the market. So you have to be able to do that. And so I'm happy to talk about that. You can find me at Joy, J-O-I, at cooksnook.net. Happy to chat about that one. So yeah, and it is pronounced Quay. So thanks, Quay. It looks like the event evaluation form is up. So going to ask you guys to fill that out. Hopefully today has been very, very exciting as we talk about our passion and purpose. And I thank these three amazing women who have joined us today to talk about this. I couldn't have found, there are plenty of amazing women in this city who are doing amazing things. We couldn't have found three more amazing women to have this conversation with in these companies. And I again thank our friends at Small Business Development Division, all across that team. They're all doing amazing things in support of us, and I appreciate you guys so much. And thank everybody for coming today. And I will turn it back over to Jackie and everyone.
I want to thank
Thank-
everyone for joining us today. I appreciate you filling out the evaluation on this event. Joy, you were fantastic. Thank you very much. Gabriela, Sharon, Kendall, I'm going to visit all of your places soon. And with that, excuse me, I'm going to turn it over to Susanna.
Thank you, Gabriela, Joy, Kendall, Sharon. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys were fabulous. My key takeaways as we wrap up and say goodbye and have a great weekend is follow your own dream, work hard, take care of yourself, and spread joy. Honestly, that is the key to our success in life, no matter what your passion, purpose, or dream you're chasing. So thank you, rock star ladies of Austin. Continue to do it. Continue to show up every day. We will follow. So thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Hi, guys.
Don't give up, all the entrepreneurs out there. That's the last thing I'll say is do not give up. It can be hard sometimes. It is scary at times. Don't give up. You will make it. You will. Be resilient. Believe in yourself. It's okay
right.
to try, but don't give up. Don't give up.
Yep, he's right. Absolutely.